Yeah, we're looking at this one again. What's up, nerdsicles? It is your hive mind master, the OGGM, coming to you live from Site B on a lovely spring morning here at 8 o'clock on the 9th day of February 2024. You better start shopping for those Valentine presents you're going to send me. Unfortunately, Joe Mangiola, I'm probably saying your name wrong, Joe, I'm sorry, gave us a unhappy Valentine's Day yesterday with the announcement of the discontinuing of the Dragonlance movie TV show project that he had been passionately working on for years. If you watch the video, it's very non-linear. Joe's kind of all over the place. You could tell how upset and angry he is just by his body posture and how he's stimming and how uncomfortable he is. There's a lot of facts involved in this, and like 2 seconds after I made the video about this yesterday and started seeing the comments I was getting on it, I was like, no, you're just, wow. Just, it's amazing how much you're getting wrong. They can't blame this on me because Joe made the facts very clear. Margaret made the facts very clear. Wizards made the facts very clear. You can't say you're misinterpreting. You don't understand. It's all something, something, something woke mafia. So there is a Dragonlance project that Joe Mangiolo has been working on for quite a while. It has been a passion project of his for years. Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman are both on board with it. They have given their blessings. The gaming industry has given their blessings. Everybody wants to see this. It was in process, and then Wizards dropped the ball. Now, Wizards is not the only reason why this didn't happen. As Joe lays out, there's a couple other reasons and probably some other ones that he didn't really mention, but are probably also out there. So let's go reason number one why this didn't happen. Joe has a very long history with HBO. He was in discussions with HBO. He had worked previously with HBO on True Blood. So he knew people in HBO. The regime of HBO changed. So the individuals he had already spoken to, the individuals who'd seen the spec script and given the green light, weren't there anymore. So that's the first and most important thing. The second most important thing to remember is that Joe had this planned to be a project for E1, Hasbro's film company. But as we know, Hasbro sold off E1 at a loss, which means the film company that Joe was going to have make the spec pilot no longer exists. That's number two. Number three, Wizards of the Coast lost a lot of money last year when they tried to release their Dragonlance projects, the board game and the new role-playing supplement. Those did not do well. In fact, I've heard that it's on sale for as low as $5 in some places, both the board game and the RPG project. So Wizards dropped the ball. But didn't everybody want Wizards to drop the ball on Dragonlance? Everybody was like, I don't want Wizards to do Dragonlance. Don't do Dragonlance, Wizards. You're going to fuck up Dragonlance. So Wizards heard you, and they're remembering that last year you said you didn't want them to do Dragonlance. They're seeing the amount of money they didn't make on the 2 Dragonlance projects. They're seeing that Dragonlance isn't making them money. So they have told Joe, we're done. We don't see this going anywhere future. Move on to another project. Joe is still maybe working on that 50th anniversary documentary he's supposedly supposed to have been working on for a while now, but considering this, who knows where he stands in his relationship with Wizards of the Coast. He may not want to work with them anymore. I don't know. Joe has offered to buy the Dragonlance license from Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast has refused that. Tracy and Margaret have backed that. Wizards of the Coast refused it. So as of now, the Dragonlance project is on the shelf indefinitely, which in the studio industry is unfortunately a fate for a lot of scripts. Now, for those of you who don't understand how far along Joe was in reaching his goal and how the industry works, Joe, who's beeping me? Valentine's Day at whatever. So let me, for those of you who don't understand how Hollywood works, I might not be able to speak on expertise on any other topic, but this one, after 16 years in the industry, I think I know. Okay. So the spec script was ready, which means Joe had written a completely edited whatever script. There was a script ready to go. There was a series Bible ready to go. He talks about it in the video, which a series Bible basically is the rules for the universe, what you can do, what you can't do, what characters you can use. It's this is what you show with the production company and the art company and the costuming company. It shows you pictures and ideas and talks about each character. It's the Bible for the show. I worked on the Bible for a never seen TV show, but whatever. So that was ready to go. Joe had the green light from Margaret and Tracy. He had the green light from HBO until that individual left. He had the green light from E1, but E1's gone, which leaves him with a in the pocket, ready to go production. All he needs is Wizards to say, go for it. I'm sure he would even have paid for it out of pocket, and they wouldn't even have had to do anything. Wizards Hasbro would have been the producers. They're the money man of the project, and they're the ones that lock, stock, and barrel hold the rights to all of Dragonlance. So they get to okay which part of the IP Joe gets to run with. And Joe had already shown everybody the script. Joe has already shown everybody the Bible. As he says, it's a 1,000-page Bible. People in the industry have seen it on every level of filmmaking, and all say it's great, according to Joe. Margaret Weiss says it's great. Tracy Hickman, everybody who's seen the script says it's amazing. Everybody who's seen the Bible says it is amazing. My insider, who is loosely connected to Joe, has talked about it. But at the end of the day, it's up to Hasbro. Hasbro is the one who can give the green light and say, go for it or not. People were like, well, why doesn't Joe buy it? And I was like, Joe did try and buy it more than once. Hasbro's not going to sell it. Well, maybe he can do a Kickstarter. He can do the Kickstarter if he wants to. He can make millions of dollars, but it doesn't matter because Hasbro doesn't want to sell it right now. They're holding on to it. It's a fuck you. Hasbro's holding on to it as a fuck you. It's a fuck you to Joe. It's a fuck you to fans. It's fuck you to Margaret and Tracy. It's fuck you to all the people last year who said, we don't want you to do Dragonlance. You're going to fuck up Dragonlance. It's Hasbro saying, well, fuck you. You wanted us to fail. We failed, but we're not going to give you what you wanted. So yeah, Hasbro's basically holding on to it. Could Joe make a pilot without them? No. He can't make a pilot without them because he can't use any of the characters that are linked to the Dragonlance IP. Now, there is a small loophole because Joe could make a fantasy spec pilot, as what we call it. And if you're familiar with some television shows and movies, sometimes you'll see a pilot for a TV show. And then like a year later, that TV show gets picked up. And then when you see the final TV show, the characters are like completely different. Saying elsewhere, the Expanse, those Stargate, those are a couple I can think of. Emergencies, there's a couple soap operas, Has Been Hotel, which just was on Amazon, different voices and a couple different characters between the pilot and when we saw it. So what Joe could do is he could make a speculative pilot, which means he could do a fantasy production following the script. Just whenever it mentions anything Dragonlance related, he changes it. Instead of it being Raceland, it's some other dude. Instead of it being Tiamat or Takeshi, it's some other evil dragon. Or maybe you just replace it with a Darth Vader ripoff that, Joe in a evil cloak sitting on a throne going, blah, whatever. You basically tell the story of the pilot, of the plot to sell it, but you can't use the characters from the IP, so you use other things. Other actors, other characters, other settings. But basically, you're showing people this works. The effects work, the beats work, the story works, the characters work, the interaction of the characters with the world works. The engine for the story, the Bible that I have written works. This works. And he could present it to Wizards of the Coast and say, look, I paid for this out of pocket. Here it is. People love it. It polled well at San Diego Comic Book Con. All my friends, everybody in the industry wants to see this get made. And look, this shows that it can be made. So give me Dragonlance so I can make the exact same thing, but now using the names and using it as Dragonlance as opposed to a generic fantasy story that, he could do the Aliens Terminator thing, where he makes another movie to prove the movie he wanted to make would work. Now, I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember Cameron made Terminator. I think was it Cameron made Terminator to prove Aliens could work, or Cameron made Aliens to prove Terminator could work. I don't remember which one is which, but basically those two movies, it's this movie. I'm making this movie to prove to you this movie will work. So Joe could do something like that. He could do a space movie and just use the script and then say, this movie proves that the other movie I want to make will work. He could do that. That's another option. But basically he could, and he could kickstart that. He could get, he could fund it out of his own pocket, hey, let's go spend a weekend in the desert. James, Roger Corman style, film this, put it in the can, show it to Wizards. Now, a lot of people are blaming this on the woke mafia. One of the best ones I read was Joe was too masculine for Wizards, so that's why they canceled it. Joe was too conservative, so that's why they canceled it. The woke mafia would never want this to be made. I would think that would be the exact opposite. The woke mafia, if that's your theory, how much control the woke agenda has over Wizards and Hasbro and Joe Manganiello. I'm going to assume from what little I know about Joe, probably not at all. That's the reason Wizards didn't run with it. He was too masculine for Wizards. They didn't want him making it. The woke mafia did not want Dragonlance made. Of course, why wouldn't they want it made? They would love to have another, classic IP that addresses all the things you think they're about made. And of course, they'd want to make it because then they could, in your own words, make Rasslin trans, make turn Tasselhoff into a person of color, make Tanis half-elven an obese guy in a wheelchair. They'd love to make a woke Dragonlance. But no, because they don't think it's going to make money. And that's a pretty conservative thing. We didn't make money last year. You guys told us you didn't want us to make it. So we're not going to make it. And we're not going to let anybody else make it because fuck you. It has nothing to do with the woke mafia. It has nothing to do with how masculine Joe is, and everything to do with the fact that Hasbro lost money. They don't think they're going to make money. They don't see a future in the franchise. And all last year, people said, don't fuck up Dragonlance. Don't do Dragonlance. Do not mess up Dragonlance. And then they made a Dragonlance thing and it didn't sell. And people, was like, do not touch Dragonlance. Do not make Dragonlance. And Hasbro's like, okay, so you're telling us you don't want us to do anything with Dragonlance. Well, fuck you. We're not going to give it to the guy who could have made something out of this. Even if it is, money we're going to lose. This is just pretty much a fuck you. This is pretty much, again, just Hasbro saying, fuck you, fan base. Fuck you, Joe. Fuck you, Margaret. Fuck you, Trace. Fuck you, all the people who keep saying they don't want us to make something. They want us to fail. Well, okay, fine. We're not going to make it. Here's your wish. We're just going to hold it on to it and keep it in a safe. And we'll see what happens. So where does Joe stand now? In regards to his relationship with Wizards and his regards to relationship to this script and his regards to relationship to his 50th year documentary that he was working on. Don't know. He didn't mention it. It hasn't been brought up. In fact, it hasn't been brought up in a while that he was working on it. The last time he mentioned the 50th year documentary, he still had long hair. So yeah, that's in limbo. If it's going to be announced, it's going to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. Where does his relationship with Wizards go now? He's obviously upset. He's obviously angry. He's obviously disappointed. He could continue to peck at him, just every week present them with more and more proof that this will work, that it is money making, that Wizards needs to let it go because the fans want to see a good Dragonlance. So he could, or he could say, fuck it. I'm Joe Manganiello. I don't really need you. I can do my own shit, you know. I can go over to Amazon and work on Warhammer. I can go over to Paramount and work on Star Trek. I can go over and make another movie, you know. I can just do D&D talks in my D&D house and work on my own game. I could team up with the OSR people and hang out with them. I could do something with Luke Gygax and Troll Lord for the 50th. I could hook up with Greg Gillespie and do something with his game. We'll talk about that in another video. So it's not like Joe's done with the gaming industry, but in regards to his relationship with Wizards, especially with the proposed 50th anniversary, I can't imagine he's happy. But the 50th anniversary thing was another passion project of his that he'd been working on around a while because, you know, he still had long hair. And he was still married to Sophia. No, too soon. So I don't know. It's up to him. At the end of the day, this is his story. His divorce with Sophia is his story. We shouldn't be making it out of the divorce. It's not the divorce's fault that this got canceled. It's not the woke mafia's fault that this got canceled. It's the lack of money that Dragonlance made them last year. And them responding going, well, fine then. Fuck you. You obviously hate Dragonlance. So we're just going to hold on to it. We're going to put it in a safe, and we're going to close that safe, and we're going to put that safe in a rocket, and we're going to launch that rocket into the moon. We know where it is in case we ever want to do something with it again. But screw you, Joe. You can't do anything with Dragonlance. Best bet is what you could do is a spec pilot where you make something that looks a lot like Dragonlance, but isn't. I don't know. You do it in space and call it something else. And then maybe we'll go to the moon and get it back, but not this year, probably not next year, and probably not anytime soon. But they're still there. It's Hollywood. So you never say never in the industry. There's always a chance they could bring it back. There's always a chance Joe could do something else and somehow it be Dragonlance in all but name. I don't know. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's up to Joe, it's up to Margaret, it's up to Tracy. And it's up to Wizards. And if Wizards aren't going to give him the permission to run with Dragonlance, he could run with something else. And if this hampers his relationship with them in regards to the 50th anniversary, he could reconsider. He could ask for more money. He could just stop doing it. Or he could just muddle through, finish it, because it is a passion project that he wants to see finish, release it. You know, maybe it goes to SDCC, maybe it goes to Cannes, maybe it goes wherever documentaries go to get real awards. And then what's during the press circuit, he can talk about the documentary, and then he can badmouth Wizards and how badly they treated Dragonlance and how badly they're treating the fans. So, yeah, I don't know. But there was a lot of comments that people made regarding this yesterday that was either, okay, you don't really understand how this works, let me explain it to you, or, wow, you're way off. My favorite, of course, still being, Wizards was intimidated by how masculine Joe is. That's tough to top, guys. That's really just tough to top. So that's it. That's the story that we're probably going to be obsessing over the weekend. More smoke and mirrors from Wizards where they distract us from what's really going on. And I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.